what's up, guys? Welcome back to Soul Food. This episode is brought to you by friends and family at Soul. Today, we have another special guest.
Yes.
What's up, everybody?
I've seen him when he was this size, and he's still the same size. But we met him when he was in high school, actually, right?
Yeah, that's
High
right.
school, now he's in a campus life. Give a big hand to Joel!
Hey, thanks everybody. Hi everyone.
Hey, man. So, this episode, all right, I guess a little context.
Yeah.
Caroline and I, we started this series called Teach Me Senpai.
Wow.
I know it's cringy,
So you want to learn
but
from you.
the word senpai, I
Right.
kind of like it because it talks about a person who is, honorable and respectful, someone who can add value.
Right.
I really believe the next generation can add value
Yep.
to someone older like me. And again, the younger generation encounters different issues. Even, I dare say that, you have your own brand new society as well to deal with.
Yeah.
Because, my gosh, babe, we are millennials. So we're so old, right? The way that we handled our society back then. And please don't get me wrong, okay? Don't at me, okay? What I'm trying to say basically is, the people that we deal with within the context of our generation, and I feel it's like a society itself.
Right, right.
The language we have, the little nuances that we have. Maybe things like we will say dude, you don't say dude, you will say G, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's
Just
true.
little things like this. But today, we brought you on because I know this is something that you went through yourself.
Right.
And you also overcome it. And I love the conversations we have, not on the podcast.
Right.
And I want to bring it on this podcast so that
Yeah, definitely.
whoever who listens to this will help them and as they navigate through the complexities of friendship. Right.
Right.
So, because this title for this episode is called
Chill lah, can't tell you joke.
Chill lah, can't take a joke. I think this is like really
Right.
bad. I don't know about other countries, but Malaysians, it's quite common.
Right.
We make fun of somebody.
Uh-huh.
Hey, bro, chill lah.
Yeah.
And society dictates that a person who got bullied or bullied to be strong.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, toughen up, man. It's just a joke. You
You're
cannot
too
take it.
sensitive.
You're too
Yeah,
sensitive.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, what are your thoughts about this first?
I think for me, when it comes to jokes, right? I mean, like you mentioned, I've had my fair share of being like degraded in terms of jokes, right?
Right.
I think it really comes down to, how you view the joke as a person. At the end of the day, you really cannot control how other people, say the jokes. But it comes down to how you take the joke and how you, deal with it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So maybe you share, if you can share with us like one incident where you were the recipient of the joke.
You are the victim.
The victim.
Yeah.
Actually have quite an interesting story. So, you guys know me by Joel, right? But I actually have another nickname that actually came from a joke that happened in primary school. So I have a nickname called Jojo Boo. So
Jojo Boo.
yeah, so Jojobu.
Jojo Boo.
Yeah.
Tell us about Jojo Boo.
All right, so Jojo Boo actually was a nickname that I had when I was in primary school. So it was meant to be a tease among my friends. So at that time, I was like really, really big size. I mean, I still am, but at that time, you usually pick on the biggest guy, because they are fat and whatnot. So it was meant to be a degrading tease. So Jojo came from my name, Joel, and Boo was like, boo, kind of thing. So it was like a collective thing with everyone else, everyone was like chanting like Jojo Boo, Jojo Boo kind of thing. Yeah. So,
It must have been tough.
yeah, it was pretty tough, especially since I was like, 9, 10 maybe?
So were there tears involved and like how are you feeling?
I think at first I was like it was pretty horrible at the sense of like everyone was like banding together to tease me. So it's pretty bad. But I think as few months went on, I thought to myself that, why should I care what they think? At one point, you cannot control how they think about you, but how you receive it from them.
Yeah.
So I was just, why don't I take this insult and turn it into something that could potentially be a very beautiful thing? So I thought to myself, Jojo Boo, it's 6 letters, 3 syllables. Why not make it my nickname? So to this day, whenever I play games or you have to put a nickname, right, I put it like Jojo Boo. So I'm reminded of myself that, jokes like this, can turn into a legacy and can turn into a testimony for others, to see.
Right.
But like whenever you see this word jojobu, or when someone actually call you this, right?
Right.
Does it bring you to the memory where you were sad
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then, or it's just like you completely over it?
I think brings me back to that memory of people teasing me, but it brings me back to the memory of like you can be strong when it comes to jokes like this. You can stand up for
Right.
yourself, and with the right tools, with the right mindset, you can overcome anything that comes your way.
So you
Right.
tweak it and make it like a reminder
Yeah,
for you.
it's like my journey kind of thing. It's like a legacy kind of thing. That this is how much I've grown over the years. Yeah.
Actually, that's a very healthy way to process.
Yeah.
Like something bad happened in the past, right? I mean, like not everyone knows how to do this. Like,
But for me personally, I feel there is also a limit to this. Because
right.
I remember when I was in high school, I was teased with apu nene. Till this day, I still do not like it
Yeah.
because I really feel it's derogatory, right? It's degrading. It's a borderline racial,
Yeah.
And again, the connotation to it's that.
yeah.
But I've seen some people who use that word and like the whole jujubu,
Yeah.
jujubu, right? Sorry,
Jujubu.
jojobu,
Yeah,
not
that's
juju, jojobu incident, and they take it upon themselves and like that's their nickname. I think
Yeah.
there's a guy on social media now who calls himself like Apu Nene or something, who does a content, and I mean, power to him for being able to take something so mean and bad and turn it to something positive
Yeah.
and like what
Yeah.
Jojobu is to you,
Yeah,
Right.
right, that's right.
Apu Nene is to him.
Right.
But the only thing I don't like is that I wonder if that particular person who calls himself Apu Nene, right, is actually empowering others that it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's actually what I thought. Like the
know?
danger in it. Like yes, it could be you turn it. You are able to turn it to be something positive,
Right,
right?
that's right.
But the danger is like what if people like misunderstand it and like
Yeah.
you have to accept it. You
Yeah.
have to take it, or you have to be like that to other people, so then they get stronger. So like in the future, it can be a lesson to them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So that's the thing that I am, I guess on the fence about.
Right.
And I guess that's the conversation for today.
Yeah.
That's right.
And thanks for sharing the journey that you're on.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess there's no clear-cut answer. Again, because
Right.
it's a very complex thing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now again, because to our listeners here, there are some words you just don't say it at all.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, I really believe that some words you shouldn't cross the line with. You know what I mean?
But do you have something like this when you were like younger?
As Joel was talking about this, right? I think weight has been such a easy thing to pick
Right,
on
right,
by
that's
people.
right, that's right.
I think I was called Fei Tut Tut before, Fatty
But
Bombo.
I think
Yeah.
the hard part is when it's like relate to your body,
Yeah.
looks.
Physical appearance.
I think
Yeah.
I had it when I was in high school.
But
It's
babe, you look so good.
the size, my size of certain part of my body.
Oh, okay, okay.
So my
okay.
friend make fun of it, like to the
Oh.
point that you always ask me, like on our first date, right? Like, why do you always like pull up your shirt?
Sure.
To think about it, right? I
yeah.
remember when I was in high school, my friend actually make fun of the size of my breast
Oh.
back then.
Oh, damn.
So I think I don't know. I mean, like I always tell him, right? Like I think I'm a little bit insecure about the size of my breast. Like that's why I like to wear like a sport bra to, not making it revealing.
and
Yeah.
all that.
I don't know. Maybe it's like unconsciously. I mean, subconsciously, it affected me, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that it is.
But there'll be some people who would take it and like be an empowerment
yeah,
thing
like
and
I
like
don't know why did I
show
like.
more.
Just like to him, it's like, don't you think that is like a compliment?
Like a confidence booster kind of
I was
thing.
like, I don't know. Like for me, it's not. Like
Right.
for me, I don't feel it's a
Yeah.
compliment somehow. Then when look back, oh, my friend used to use it as a mockery.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
I think the key thing is also identifying whether it's a mockery or not. And if you know that someone is mocking you, then I guess really the power is in your hands to really address it.
That's
you know. Speaking of addressing it, couple of days ago, and I think this is something that all of us can learn. It's a very innocent thing. I believe that even what we face in school is always an innocent thing,
Right.
Somebody started this whole Jojo Boo thing innocently, right?
Right.
So again, a couple of days ago, we were having lunch, and Kyle, my son,
Oh yeah.
right, 4 years old, 4 years
Yeah,
old,
this
right?
boy.
He innocently just mentioned, it's not even a making fun or what, mentioned how the person on the other table
Yeah.
is really big. You
It
there's
was
some
an
people.
innocent observation, but
Yeah.
because
Right.
he is a 4 years old, that's why it's a loud observation.
Yeah. so he and again, I guess as a parent, I was like, oh my god, you embarrassed me. So he
Yeah.
said it out so loud. He's like, "Mommy,
Why is that Uncle tummy like that?
like that?"
So
and yes, the uncle is definitely bigger in size.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Typical Malaysian who cross the line of eating and
Right.
I guess borderline obese,
Right.
and they're quite big in size.
Mm.
So Carl just innocently asked out loud, you know what I mean? And I think that's where it's so important. What I want to mention, like, was for me and Caroline, we were like, "Hey, Carl, let's talk about it later." Like, I didn't want to just shut Carl down. Like, "Hey, Carl, what you say is wrong, lah."
Yeah, because he wasn't technically wrong.
Yeah. You know?
I mean, to him, it's just a curiosity.
He's just curious, you know?
Right, that's right.
But bro, at that moment, he's like, why the uncle? I'm like,
Right.
no, please don't.
And if you know my son, he's loud.
Yeah.
Man, there's that. But thanks for sharing about the whole
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jojobu
Yeah.
thing. But
Definitely.
have you mocked anyone before?
Another way.
Now we're going into the
Vice
tea.
versa.
So how was it like? And I don't know, regrets. What was the lesson learned?
I think for me, there was this joke. It was a very innocent joke that we used to do. So, I think this was in high school. So so there was this term that we like to use called tutti frutti.
Okay, what does it mean for
So
you?
usually when you see a guy that acts a bit more feminine in their attitude, you call them a bit more fruity.
All right.
Okay.
Right. So it was really just harmless or innocent. We just like, oh, this guy was a bit more feminine in motion, but not necessarily saying that he is a girl kind of thing.
Yeah,
So it was really just out of innocence, and so me and my cousin, we used to joke about it to this one guy.
Like specifically attacking him or
sorry,
maybe not attack, but make fun.
Yeah, make fun lah. But it was out of innocence. We didn't really, it wasn't to mock him. It was just to, it wasn't really mocking him lah.
Right.
Yeah. So and then I think it went a bit too far to the point where his older sister actually came and was like, "Hey, you guys might want to stop saying this about my younger brother, kind of thing." So at that point I was like, "Shucks, like it is, when has a joke gone too far to a point where an older sister has to step in?"
Right.
So at that point, I was like, "Oh man, you can't really joke about things as innocent as you may think it is. To other people, it could be a really big thing."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you're right. Like the perspective, like
Perspective
things
is
that
so
is
important,
funny
yeah.
to you, like you laugh about it, it might not be funny to me.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So that's why we like have to be very careful.
Yeah.
What happened to this person, like your friend, your family? I mean, like, did he like express whether he didn't like it or he actually laughed together with you?
I think to him it was because it was his kind of like personality. So he's actually really confident in how like as a guy, the more confident you are about your identity, the more you can be more emotional. So sometimes guys, they like to act tough, right? They like to act all like macho and whatnot, but there's also strength in being more emotional as a guy. So I
Yeah.
think he was very secure in his identity. Therefore, he was a bit able to be more like this. So I think after talking to him, he's one of my good friends today.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that is such a good turn of event.
Yeah,
Right.
he's one of my good friends today. He's younger than me by quite a few years, but we talk to this day. So yeah, after really getting to know him better, I'm like, this is his personality. So society says that guys have to be like really, really macho, and then girls
Yeah.
have to be really, really feminine, really like
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I think that this joke, this whole incident, changed my perspective that hey, people are who they are, and you have to
Yeah.
accept them,
Yeah.
for who they are. kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
yeah.
guys.
So through this incident, have you learned like where is the line between joke and insult? Because I mean, I don't know, babe. I guess it's okay to make jokes, right? I mean, not okay. I want to be very careful here. not mocking people, but sometimes in a group of friends, we're
Right.
hanging out. Shout out to Johnny. Johnny is here today doing the sound for us.
Yeah, let's go.
I know sometimes we poke fun at each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, you remember you did this back then? Yeah. And then you like, hey, this DK, he's kind of like that. Yeah. And we kind of
It's a true story.
laugh. True story, right? There's a lot of secrets between me and Johnston, babe. Anyway, yeah, for you, where is the line between like joke and being offensive, or like where do you draw the line?
I
Right?
think it's a very fine line.
Right.
It's a super fine line.
But for you,
For me, I think it comes down to how the person that you're saying the joke to reacts. In my opinion. So whenever I say jokes, I sometimes some jokes are like inside jokes, or like you mentioned,
Yes.
teasing and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But I think when you say the jokes, if that person is not laughing with you,
Yeah.
but rather kind of thing.
yeah.
So, this is what I do whenever people like tend to joke and whatnot. So for me, it's like I am quite sensitive. You know me quite well.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
quite sensitive. But I can also have my fair share of taking jokes.
Yeah.
So when a joke goes too far, what I do is that, hey guys, maybe we should tone it down a bit. I don't really like this joke. Maybe let's move on to the next joke. I
Yeah.
believe that there are jokes that can be funny without having to be inappropriate or being insulting.
Yeah.
I believe there are jokes like that.
But
Yeah.
that is a good that is a good characteristic that you have.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you communicate it out when you are not happy about it. But I
Yeah.
realize that some Gen Z like you, right? They are like a little bit more poker face. Like they don't laugh at you. Or maybe
just
they
keep it
laugh
to
at you
themselves.
together, right?
Right.
Like they laugh at you together, but inside actually you never know.
Right.
And some of them they are not very good at telling what they are feeling.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's why like how do we know? Like
Have you encountered that with
I mean,
your
to be fair,
buddies?
to be fair, this communication thing is a very recent development for me. So it's only been like the past few years that I've only started to do this.
Right.
So as a Gen Z myself, for the past few years, I was like that. The
Yeah.
poker face thing. When people say jokes and I don't really like it, I just take it and I'm just like, I don't want to be like a buzzkill kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yes,
I
yes.
think that's the problem we have. Is like when people say a joke and you're offended or slightly insulted by it.
Right.
If you say something about it, you feel like you're a buzzkill. You feel like you don't want to, ruin the atmosphere and things. Then people will be like, chill lah,
Right.
like the topic say chill lah, can't take a joke, man.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
So I think that the communication thing is very important, but it also takes bravery, and you need to know
Yes.
the right people to do it with.
Yeah.
You can't just do it with any person. You need to
Yeah.
find that right group of people that you can pour out and be vulnerable with,
Yeah.
and from there you start to build that communication with other people as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
But do you think like some of these people who like a victim, right? Do you think like they might not know the implication? Like they might not know how should they feel? Like like some people maybe they don't really have a lot of friends yet, or they don't go out there much yet. Then when people make fun like that, they don't know how to feel. They don't know how to react, whether it's right or wrong. Like how do you think? My husband and I teach my kids, when things is okay, when things is not okay. Do you have
Yeah.
any idea what should we do?
I think the best thing is wait, hold on, sorry, pause. I suddenly my mind went blank.
No problem.
Chill, bro. Can't take a
Chill.
joke.
Can't take a joke.
So can you just reiterate that again?
Right, like like some people like you might like you say right just a few years ago you know how to communicate it out,
right.
but I believe some of young people nowadays they don't even know whether it's right or wrong. The joke that they take from other people when people talk about them,
Yeah.
they don't know whether it's right or wrong. Like should people tell that about me? Should
Yeah.
people say that about me? Like that,
Because
like
I think context, right? My generation, and I mean Caroline and I, our generation, we are more of like, hey, suck it up.
Yeah.
Take it in. If someone makes fun of you, just I guess put on a poker face
Right.
and move on with it.
Right,
Like- like,
that's the
I
way
think-
to be deemed strong.
yeah,
Right.
I think for you just done with your teenager stage, right?
Right,
Now you are
right.
like going to be
Yeah.
adult, right? So you are like for us, I think it's been like long time ago.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but we have
40 years
kids.
ago.
We have kids who is going to be teenagers soon,
Right,
right?
that's
right.
Like you can teach us like how can we teach Ayla and Kyle in the future? Like if it's okay if the friends call you this way, like my daughter will come home to me and say that
Oh, yeah.
my friend told me that I look scary. When I look at them, I look scary. Like when should I tell her it's not okay when people call you this way or call you that way? Like how should we teach her?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Ooh, this
Like, how do you think that, how you expect older person teach you in the past? Like, Joel, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, because my parents are quite Asian in that sense, so usually when I come home and I have tears, I'm like, like I'm getting bullied and stuff. My parents will be like, the most common answer I'll always hear every day is just stop being friends with them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the most common one you
Man,
hear.
I'm so tempted to say that to my kids whenever that happens,
Yes.
actually. But
Yeah,
I don't know, like,
But this is coming from someone who has gotten that response before, right? You at that stage, at that age, right? You need people around you. You're building that community.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel like you have to force yourself to like these kind of things. So it gets very tough, when people just say, just stop being friends with them. Then you feel like you end up being alone, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think in our generation now, you really need to understand that it's a give and take kind of thing. You kind of need to put yourself out there in a sense and try to, how do I put it in this way? It's kind of like, wow, it's a bit hard to answer.
It's okay. Take your time, bro.
how do you expect someone older than
Yeah.
you? Like, if we are your youth leader, like, then you go through that. Like, how should we guide you, to distinguish, like, this thing is okay, what people say, this thing is not okay, and you should do this
It's
instead of
basically
that.
like how you wish that someone would talk to you the way that you wanted to. Yeah, and if you could tell Ayla and Kyle, what would you tell them in that context?
Wow. I think at our age right now, we are considered a snowflake generation. So a lot of reassurance and encouragement is very important.
Right.
But I
That's
also
good.
believe in this term of, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
Yeah.
So you really need to be firm on certain things like, hey, this is not right. So I'm a firm believer in not liking self-depreciating jokes. So self-depreciating jokes is jokes that you talk about, like, I'm not good enough, and then people laugh at you kind of thing.
Oh,
Because self-depreciating jokes it comes from yourself, and if you internalize it, it becomes really bad. So I'm not a fan of self-depreciating jokes. And
wow. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Oh, we'll learn from that.
I think one thing I like about Joel, and that's why I have him on this podcast, is that one thing I realized is he's a protector. He has this discernment about about including people into a conversation, and I've observed how you want to make sure that everyone is feeling okay, doing fine, so much so that it kind of affected you for a while, right?
Right. That's right.
But I think that's a very beautiful quality that you have, and I want to just celebrate that about you.
Yeah.
But that quality, did it come from, I guess, I don't know, that Jojo
Boo.
upbringing, and that's why you told yourself that I'm going to make sure that I protect people. Was that part of your journey, or you just psych yourself like that? Yeah.
I think that, kind of happens, because I kind of have this thing where I care for others more than I care for myself at one point in my life.
Right.
So it was like really, really bad to the point that I would neglect myself entirely just for the sake of other people. So I think, at the end of the day, loving others is just as important as loving yourself. We need to understand that, love doesn't entail loving others,
Yep.
but also loving yourself.
Yeah.
So if you know that some jokes or some insults are really bad, and it hurts you, you have to love yourself by saying, these jokes are not good. It's either I confront that person, I tell them. If you're close with that person, if you're not close with that person, just I guess just move on from it,
Right.
So-
that's nice. I got a question to ask, right, from our list of questions here today.
Okay.
What is like one joke you wish that older people won't say to you?
Wow. One joke that older people won't say.
Especially with, with us just celebrating Chinese New Year and all of that. What is like one joke you wish, Okay, people our age, if you're still single, it will be the, when are you getting married? Because I guess maybe you're still young, but what joke you feel like, auntie, enough.
I think one of the biggest jokes is putting pressure on the expectations of your career. I think that is something that is very big now in our generation. So
Right.
auntie uncles will
Such
be like,
as?
oh, what are you gonna do in your future, kind of thing, and then like,
Right.
are you gonna be a doctor, a lawyer, or especially being older generation, they think of like doctors and lawyers being prosperous careers, right? So, if you tell them like, oh, I'm doing arts, I'm doing music, then they'll be like, oh, they're like, yeah, kind of thing. So I think that, it can be quite hurtful because, especially since if you're so passionate about art or so passionate about something that the older folks may not understand, and then they shoot you down like that. And then you kind of have to just be like, oh, because they're older, do I take it? Or do I? Yeah, because we are taught to respect our elders, right? Because,
So how do you navigate through that? Like, shut up, auntie! No. But how do you navigate through that?
I think there's also, you need to find the middle ground of respect. You'll be like, okay, I understand that this is auntie's POV. This the older folks' point of view.
Right.
But you have to understand that your life is also yours to take command of. Especially for those parents or for those kids who have their entire lives planned out by their parents. I just want to tell you that, at the end of the day, your life is yours to live. The decision comes to you. So, if you feel like you've been pressured too much by your parents or they have like a prospect for you, you kind of need to understand that, some decisions are yours to make and your life, at the end of the day, love yourself.
Right.
So,
right.
Hey, I have one example of this kind of like
babe?
event.
Sure.
Like, what if you are in a Chinese New Year, gathering, and then suddenly one auntie said like, "Oh, yeah lah, your son." Your son has like oh, I'm the mother like that.
Right.
Oh yeah, your son have girlfriend already. Like, yeah, my son just like to be at home like to just play video games, not going out, I think.
Are you talking about Joel?
Girlfriend is the last thing. Like, that kind of expectation.
Right.
And then the moment you compare it, and then you make it like a joke, you're making it but it's not okay. You're making it sound like okay, but it's not okay.
Yeah.
Most Asian parents do that, right? They be like,
Is it?
oh, your son is so good. My son, my kids,
For me, right?
And our kids always the not good one.
And the more not good your kid is like you're more humble,
Like you are like competing which kid is not good.
Unnecessary. So for me, got two stories. One is, I've been a recipient before.
Yeah.
I don't know if I shared with you before, babe, but someone actually said a remark to my mom, in a conversation. Of course, now older and having this conversation today, thinking about it now, it's an innocent thing. But I guess I was maybe 10 or 12, around the age, that range. I remember this auntie saying this. Ayah, Daniel is not the doctor kind one lah.
Oh no.
Was it a joke?
Yeah, joke-ish,
Right, it's a joke.
but it's like a conversation. And I kind of wish my mom defend me.
Right.
No, my son can. You know what I mean?
Can you?
No, of course not. Now here is the dilemma, right? Yeah, it's true. I'm not the doctor kind. I'm not the, I guess, engineer kind or the top tier shelf career kind of like POV, right? But to hear that when you are 10 to 12 years old, it's pretty hurtful.
Yeah, it hurts your morale.
Yeah.
It's like, Daniel is not the doctor kind. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not the doctor kind?
Somehow you're like figuring out your identity, like that age.
Yeah.
That's why I said just now, like my daughter, right? My friend told me that I'm scary.
Yeah.
And like, can you imagine the implication on a child, like who is looking for and searching for their self-identity? Like, oh, my friend said that I'm scary. Or my friend said that I am boo, like they're always boo. Then you kind of like, you don't realize that it's actually like form the way you think about yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? So that's the danger.
Yeah. And then another one is where this auntie, always an auntie, right? Have to be an auntie one, right?
You don't like
Sometimes
that
uncle lah, sometimes
I'm
uncle
an
lah,
auntie.
sometimes
It's either uncle or auntie, okay?
Mostly it's auntie. I'm sorry.
The auntie, again, innocently, and again, the conversation from today, right? Would joke about like how not handsome the son is, how I am handsome, how I have a girlfriend, and how he is still single, how he is not good in this and all. Which, by the way, this friend of mine is an amazing student.
Wow.
Okay, he's doing very well. I think in medicine, he should be in a medical line.
The doctor.
Today. Yeah, I think he's definitely a doctor today. But I have to say, it ruined our relationship.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife knows about this particular person because at the end of the day, when we were older, when we talk about it, he had this like weird expectation on our friendship, you know, which was just like, I'm like, where did this come from? I'm like, dang, mom, it's your fault, right? And again, it's like mom and aunties and all, and again, it's always innocent.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's what happened to us. Are you still facing this sort of thing today with some of these things? And
I think no one intentionally wants to harm or hurt others, right, through their
I like
insults or jokes. No one
Yeah.
actually wants to do that. It's
Yeah.
always just for good laughs, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to understand that, jokes are, they can be hurtful. They can really be
Yeah.
hurtful.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between laughing at the joke and laughing at the subject of that person in the joke.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, and I think for all of us here, jokes can be funny without being inappropriate or being insulting.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
like that. Jokes can be funny without it being inappropriate or
Insulting.
Actually, I
insulting.
read a quote somewhere online, right? This is the psychology of humor. Humor often thrives on shared contexts. Like you're
Okay.
sharing the same
True.
context, you understand the same context. But when the context excludes or ridicules others, it can reinforce stereotypes or cause harm. So that's why, when we understand the same context, we laugh at it,
Yeah.
of it, right? If one person on the table feel excluded or ridiculed, that is
Yeah.
when joke is like crossing the line. What do you think?
yeah, definitely. I think that is like clear cut crossing the line, right? But I've got one that is like where I'm in a dilemma,
Right.
memes.
Oh. Hey, you guys like memes.
Joel is a meme buddy of mine. Right?
Johnston also.
Johnson is a meme buddy
I'm
of mine.
also. But I never send back.
Caroline is a very bad meme friend.
That's true.
Yeah, I am.
I am still learning to be wiser, better in this area. But memes are such a big part of Gen Z.
Right.
For you, Joel, I mean, educate us. What do you think is an inappropriate thing, and what do you think it's like? Okay, this is where you draw the line.
Man, I
Yeah.
have something in my mind.
I think for me, cause I mean, like you said, we're meme buddies, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I would, coming from a Christian background myself, sometimes you have that sudden like, wait a minute,
Wait a minute.
wait a minute, So
Johnson and I have a lot of those. Wait a minute.
wait a minute. Yeah, so I will be like scrolling through, cause your For You page, is tailored to you. So you
Yes,
just
yes.
scroll through your reels,
yes,
right?
yes.
And then when I see something funny and I'm like, wait, should I even be laughing at this?
Right.
Should I even be doing
Yeah.
like
Oh,
when
man.
before I came out to the podcast, I was like, I need to go back and look at all my humors. like, I feel
There's
like a bit of
certain
a-
thing you send also. I'm like, babe,
Babe.
are
I
you
feel like-
sure you're gonna send this? Is it funny?
Okay.
I feel like it's a bit,
Yeah, but for you, what do you think is like inappropriate, or like where do you think,
where you draw them. I
where you
think
draw
it
the line?
comes down to your maturity level at the end of the day. I think jokes develop as you grow older and grow more mature.
Right.
So like when you're younger, jokes can just be like simple teasing, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as you grow older, jokes can be really personal and really just like attacking and stuff like that.
Right.
So when it comes to memes, I think you need to, I guess, keep each other accountable. Let's say for me and you, right? We
Right,
laugh
right.
at sometimes quite ridiculous things.
Yes.
You know?
But you've never crossed it. I have addressed some of my friends who really cross it. Like for me, I feel like it's crossing the line when it's derogatory. Like you go to the point where it's like, a gore. I think I got sent once where it was like someone was, I'm sorry to be a bit gore about this, but almost or about to be decapitated. And this person sent because thought it was funny. I'm like, oh no, that's no for me. For a moment, I thought the wheelchair thing is kind of funny. But what kind of reinforced that? I think it's kind of okay because Paralympics actually posted. and now, guys, if you go on Paralympics, right, like which is the official, can I say Olympics for people who are handicapped?
Paralympics.
Paralympics, right?
Yeah.
On their IG page, man, they really
Embrace it.
Embrace it and empower it. Like there's one guy cycling and then he put the audio of Max Verstappen driving. It's just like Max Verstappen, and it's like, oh my gosh, right? It's really funny. And then when you see, who is this guy? Oh, it's actually Paralympics, you know. And power to them, I guess. The whole Jojo Boo, right?
Yeah.
I think so. For me, like, okay, that's kind of okay, you know, but I think there's some things where I just like, oh, this is gore. You know, this is too much.
Yeah.
You know, this is like really talking about humanity and all. Then we like, oh man, this shouldn't be. So I still want to learn, you know, like from your perspective, especially as a Gen Z, like, you know, where do you think the line should be
The line should be drawn, right?
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to, you know, accountability at the end of the day. Like, you know, especially between you and your buddies, if you know that this joke is something, you know, that you shouldn't really be talking about. I think some jokes are really like clear cut, like no, like you said. I think most like some jokes, especially like, you know, like under 18 jokes.
Yeah.
You know, like talking about like minor jokes, like about minors. I think those jokes, yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, jokes about minors, I think it's a bit, you know, like unnecessary in my opinion. So sometimes when my friend says it, I'm like, you know, like why? You know, cause you know me, you know, I like to be involved with kids. And I think this is a very important point to make. That jokes are not funny when you are actually experiencing it yourself. So let's say if there's a joke about, let's say, you know, handicapped people and you have family members that are handicapped, you wouldn't laugh at jokes about handicapped.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
so I think it comes down to, you know, your personal life and how you view jokes. Like you say, some people would celebrate, you know, the jokes and turn it into something empowering. But some people really take it personal and offensive. So it comes down to the accountability. It comes down to you as a person, your maturity level. Where do you draw the line and say, hey, these jokes are not good. And these jokes should be defended. You know, these people should be defended in this, you know.
I remember this, like, you know, someone actually, I was in the same, like, we are like in the same proximity, same place. And then like this person make fun of someone like special needs kids or special needs, someone with a, like, you know, that kind of special. And then, and it's very like, it looks very innocent and then a joke and then they all laugh about it. But I realized there's one girl who didn't laugh at it. And then when I actually look back and see again, like I try to like, why is she not laughing? Oh, she has a brother who is you know, who has autism. Then you make fun of it, like you make joke about that. But yeah, this other person don't know about that. But that's why she didn't laugh. You know, that's why sometimes, right? It's also like back to us. It's our own responsibility. What come out from us, right? What's the implication of, you know? Do we know everybody there? Like, are we crossing the line? You know, maybe there are things that we don't know that actually are triggers for them when we make joke like that, right?
Yeah. You know, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, it is a very complex issue, you know, and both of you presented a very complex case, right? For some people, power to them. They even laugh at their disability, right? They laugh at the joke at them. But some people will just take it and like, it really makes them depressed, you know. So I think this episode really is to bring an awareness to be aware of your surrounding.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
I think it's not right to say that, hey Joel, from today onwards, you cannot make this joke about wheelchairs anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because what happens if you meet a guy who is on wheelchair, who is making wheelchair jokes?
Yeah.
Which the reality is there are people like that, you know, and you would also want to laugh together and be about that. But will you meet people on wheelchairs who are actually serious about life and maybe, you know, they don't want to be made fun about or, you know, maybe they're still battling something inside. So I guess it's so important for us. Not I guess. I believe it's so important for us that, you know, we shouldn't just set in stone that, you know, this is the way to go about it. But to continue to evolve and be better human beings out there. So thanks again, Joel, for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your perspective on this. And like I said again, you know, my wife and I, we really celebrate you and how you stand up for people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we have you on this particular episode. Anything else, babe, you want to ask? All right. Anything else you want to add on?
Anything else I want to add on? I think for me, just like to say, I think for me, I want to be honest on this podcast as well. You know, there are few jokes like I don't know if you know this term called dark jokes.
Yeah.
So as I was preparing for this podcast, I was like thinking to myself, there's quite a lot of jokes that I know are inappropriate sometimes, and I laugh at them. I have to be honest, I laugh at them sometimes, and I think that it's not right, and sometimes like you said, you cannot set in stone sometimes.
Yeah.
But I also believe that as people grow up, as people evolve, like you said, there comes a time that there's a maturity level where you need to be aware and know your surroundings.
Yeah.
So I think that jokes like this, is, to me, jokes can be quite subjective sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be quite subjective. So I think that when it comes to jokes, if if you're not crossing the line, or if it's, I wouldn't say harmless, but if you can, you need to find a balance. There's always a balance in everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So just putting it out there, I'm not saying that you can't laugh at dank memes, dark jokes anymore, but just putting it out there. But just be more aware. Be sensitive. If you know that there's someone in your group, or even yourself as you grow older, you realize you are experiencing this kind of things yourself. Be more aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. If you got any questions, or if you feel that we should, dig deeper into this content or this topic, drop us a DM, or you can email us. Well, that's all we have. Thank you again, Joel, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you guys for the next episode.
Laters.